Well, thank you. First of all, I would like to thank Columbia University for giving this opportunity to speak to you about Georgia's progress and role as a reliable and steadfast ally of the United States. Let me also thank our friend Lincoln Mitchell for this kind introduction. And it's an honor to address the esteemed audience today as part of my first visit to the United States as the Prime Minister of Georgia. So thank you again. Well, while this is my first trip to the United States as Prime Minister, my previous visit to the country have given me a great appreciation for what American friendship means. And in that regard, Georgia's friendship with the United States is one of my country's most precious assets. This trip has already been a great success. I had a great meeting with the President, with Vice President, with Secretary Kerry, and also had a number of productive discussions with senior other government officials and congressional leaders on how we can make the Georgia-U.S. relationship even stronger. We have also met with the NGOs and business leaders to discuss how to move Georgia's economy and civil society to the next phase of development. And my government values the close, strategically important relationship with the United States. And I see great potential for future political, economic, and security collaboration between the two nations and between the countries. Georgia has learned over the last 20 years that no matter what political party is in power in this country, in the United States, the United States has been a steadfast ally and friend to Georgia. And following this trip, I became even more convinced that all Americans should know that Georgia is Americans' true and dear friend and ally, no matter what political party is in power in Georgia. Georgia and America's interests align and its friendship runs deep. And the beauty of democracy is that although the captain may change, as we say, the ship remains on course. I could also go on about the strong bilateral relationship, but I want to talk to you today about Georgia's comprehensive democratic and economic reforms and how they are contributing to Georgia's path to European and Euro-Atlantic integration. However, before I do that, I would like to express my deep concern over the alarming events in Ukraine, as I know they remain foremost on all of our minds given recent developments in this country, in Ukraine. And I would like to express my condolence to the families of the fallen citizens. It is a tragedy. It is clear now that the Ukrainian people express their preference for free association with Europe, and the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the Ukraine should be respected at any cost. Any unwelcome foreign involvement in Ukraine's domestic affairs should not be tolerated. Georgia remains committed to the prosperity and security of the Black Sea region, and we support efforts to find a peaceful solution to this crisis. Over the past 20 years, Georgia has grown tremendously as a young and vibrant democracy. We have emerged as a true leader of stability, prosperity, and security in the region, and appreciate the resounding support from the United States, from the European Union, from NATO, as we have pushed through comprehensive reforms to strengthen our country's democratic values and economic freedom. Our commitment to aligning more closely with the United States and Europe goes hand in hand with our commitment to continue democratic transformation. Increased Euro-Atlantic and European integration is our way of returning to the family of European nations, with whom we share history, culture, and most importantly, the values. This idea is supported by the Georgian people and all major political parties. The outcome of the October 2013 presidential election served as a clear demonstration of European aspirations of the people of Georgia. More than 80% voted for candidates advocating for Georgia's integration with the European Union and NATO. Europe is where Georgia belongs, and nothing can derail us from the track of integration. By initially the association agreement, including the deep and comprehensive free trade area at the Vilnius summit last year, in November, we opened a new chapter in our relations with the European Union. We insist that the European Union acknowledges Georgia's European perspective, thus paving path for the membership in the European Union. It is obvious that unless the European Union gives clear promise of membership to the successful countries of the Eastern Partnership, then crises similar to Ukraine will happen again and again, and this crisis may spin out of control outside the region. We are ready to be European neighbors, not just neighbors of Europe. We have initiated and implemented key political, economic, constitutional, and judicial reforms directed towards strengthening democracy in our country, the rule of law, judicial independence, transparency, and social welfare, as well as respecting human rights and fundamental freedoms. In 2008, at NATO summit in Bucharest, the allies decided that Georgia would become a member of NATO. Later, the alliance underlined the importance of holding free and fair parliamentary and presidential elections in Georgia. The progress already made puts us, and that really puts us in a strong position to take next step forward in Georgia's NATO integration. For Georgia, the upcoming NATO summit this fall is the best opportunity to adequately assess and reflect the progress made by our government. And I think it is essential to move forward, and the realistic way to do it is to grant membership action plan to Georgia. We stress on MEP as it is a single integration mechanism providing concrete framework for the implementation of the Bucharest summit decision that Georgia should become a member of NATO. Key domestic reforms have paved the way for Georgia's progress, and I want to say a few words and highlight a few of them. First of all, I believe one of the most important achievements of my nation has been our commitment to democratic reforms and the success of the October presidential elections and the parliamentary elections of 2012. The 2013 elections have been widely praised by international observers as free and fair. My country has come a long way in a short time, and there is much potential for the future as a model of democratic progress in the region. Another key benchmark of Georgia's democratic consolidation has been recent constitutional amendments that created more fair system of checks and balances, amendments that between the legislative and executive branches. My government remains committed to ensure a free and fair, independent, and transparent judicial system. Through recent constitutional reforms, the courts have become more independent and have gradually regained the trust and respect of the people. Protection of fundamental human rights and freedoms, including minority rights, are also among our key priorities. This includes our new National Human Rights Strategy and Action Plan that are designed to bring the country's legal and institutional frameworks, as well as human rights culture and practice in line with the European standards within 7 years. No other country has a plan like this, I can proudly say. It was developed in cooperation with all stakeholders and with the advice of outside experts like EU Special Representative Thomas Hammerberg. The plan touches upon law enforcement, the judicial and penitentiary systems, the labor market, social services, as well as legal codes and institutional, national, and local government structures. Progress will be measured and officials will be accountable for implementation. We will finally turn Georgia into a consolidated democratic country that was promised for so long. In addition to sweeping democratic reforms, Georgia is poised for an era of economic growth. We have made great progress to ensure a free and open economic environment in our country and have undertaken numerous reforms to further advance economic opportunities for both the domestic and international businesses. Our country is open for business, and we welcome the opportunity to continue to deepen our commercial ties to the United States. And in fact, U.S.-Georgia trade is on a forward trajectory as more and more Western investors and companies are feeling confident about opportunities in Georgia and are coming to the country to invest. We are committed to the fundamental principles of economic freedom and protection of property rights, and have worked to foster a free and fair and transparent business environment. Through the creation of new employment opportunities, inclusive and affordable systems in the field of education, healthcare, and social insurance, we are improving economic opportunities and the quality of life for all Georgian citizens. Our economic success has been recognized and applauded by the international community. The World Bank recently forecast 6.3% economic growth for Georgia in 2014, instead of 5% as we originally envisaged. A recent survey to the Heritage Foundation ranked Georgia as the 22nd freest country in the world, citing improvements in 6 out of 10 economic categories, including the management of public finance, investment freedom, monetary freedom, and property rights. The same survey ranked Georgia 12 out of 43 countries in the European region, and my country's score is well above the regional average. I also wanted to say that Georgia ranks number 8, according to the World Bank ease of doing business criteria. And our steadfast commitment to Western integration extends beyond our domestic democratic and economic reforms. We are also committed to increasing our engagement with the international community on key security issues, and Georgia is ready to take the next step in its partnership with the West, serving as a larger contributor to international security through a robust cooperation initiative on non-proliferation, counterterrorism, and peacekeeping efforts. As the largest non-NATO contributor to the ISAF mission in Afghanistan, our troops and our government are committed to this important endeavor. We are committed to staying in Afghanistan through the ISAF mission and are ready to assist in the process of institution building by sharing our experience in this regard. Friends, as my country moves forward on our path to Euro-Atlantic and European integration, our relationship with Russia remains a challenge. We appreciate the resolve and support of the international community, particularly the United States, as we try to lower tensions in our relations with Russia. But I want to underline, Georgia remains committed to seeking a peaceful solution and normalizing relations with Russia. The previous government undertook the pledge not to use force in pursuing de-occupation, which we reiterated in 2013, and our country introduced the visa-free regime for the citizens of Russia and agreed to Russia's accession to the World Trade Organization. In order to normalize relations with Russia, we started to explore various areas of cooperation without detriment to Georgia's sovereignty and territorial integrity. We achieved some results, such as the gradual opening of the Russian market for Georgian products, Georgian wine, mineral water, and agricultural products, also improving of transport links, and improved humanitarian and cultural contacts. But we plan on continuing this commitment to cooperation in the future. Part of this includes our decision to participate in the Sochi Olympic Games, where we sent our athletes. It was a difficult decision, by the way, to participate in in Sochi. However, we are committed to forging a new relationship with Russia and finding a peaceful and sustainable solution to borderization. However, despite the progressive and peaceful efforts and constructive policy of my government, unfortunately, Moscow continues its provocative and destructive activities, such as the installation of barbed wires and fences along the occupation line. By the way, they just renewed this process 2 days ago, right after the Sochi Olympic Games. Well, we expect further attempts from the Russian Federation to increase pressure on Georgia as Russia refuses to reciprocate Georgia's legally binding non-use of force pledge and remains in breach of EU-mediated August 12th ceasefire agreement. Nevertheless, for us, there is no alternative to a dialogue and political settlement of the conflict. A final solution takes time, we understand. Consistent strategy and consolidated international effort. My government will continue to work closely with the European Union and other international partners and friendly nations as to avert any further deterioration of the situation. The geostrategic dynamics of the Black Sea are constantly changing. Continuing U.S. support for Georgia is increasingly important with the prospect of further provocation from Russia and the increasingly deteriorating situation in Ukraine. We strongly encourage the United States, European Union, and NATO to continue to play a key role in shaping the stability and prosperous future of the region. It's not only about Georgia, it's about the region. Continued support and engagement will resonate and will deliver a powerful message. Democracy, a value-based partnership, and that democracy, a value-based partnership and integration with the European community can be successful in our neighborhood. And lastly, Georgia's successful European and Euro-Atlantic integration will not only benefit my country, but it will also bring greater stability and security to the entire region. Moreover, the integration of a strategically located transportation and energy hub into a Euro-Atlantic space service provides long-term economic advantages to our partners. As we move down this path and in the years ahead, we will continue to serve as a reliable and steadfast ally of the United States. We appreciate the support of the United States as well as at the international community as we strive to achieve sustainable progress and success and look forward to increased engagement, closer economic ties, and continued political cooperation in the years ahead. As we continue on our path forward, we are confident to Georgia's future political stability, economic prosperity, and peace. Thank you for your attention.
Professor Mitchell and I and others from Harriman have visited your country, and we've looked at the occupied territories and developed plans for civil society contacts, commercial links. We've tried to be as innovative and creative as possible to break down some of the barriers that have been built up. But unfortunately, the situation seems to be worsening with the construction of permanent Russian bases. What's your approach to the occupied territories, and how can international friends of Georgia be of assistance to you?
Thank you. Well, it's a good question. Well, first of all, I would like to tell you that Russia continued the borderization process, which they started in 2011. And last year, they installed 50 kilometers of barbed wire fences and artificial barriers. So in December, they stopped this process. And right after the Sochi Olympic Games, 2 days ago, they renewed this process. Well, our approach is the following. Since we came into power in 2012, after the parliamentary elections, we entirely changed our approach vis-à-vis to Russia. We changed our policy, and it became constructive, as constructive as possible. First of all, we appointed Prime Minister's personal representative for Russian relations, and my government has undertaken a number of constructive steps, which was aimed at de-escalating the tension between Russia and Georgia. And I think it worked. As I mentioned in my speech, Russia gradually started to open its market for Georgian products. We could sell our products and improve economic and trade relations with them. But these efforts didn't really much effect on the political side. We still have this unsolved conflict with Russia. And their provocative action in the occupied regions pose challenges and problems for our relationship. It really doesn't help to rebuild the trust between the nations. And therefore, my vision for the occupied regions is the following. My country has chosen our way, which is called a Georgian way, which means country's Europeanization. By initially in the association agreement in Vilnius, the country's Euro integration became irreversible. And now when I say irreversible is what gives me the power to say this. First of all, the will of Georgian people. We made public opinion surveys several weeks ago, and it shows that 85% of the Georgian population supports country's European integration, and 81% of the population supports NATO integration. And that gives me more power. That gives me more energy, and it encourages us to move forward. Georgia has made a choice between past and the future. We want to move forward toward the future. I really want to transform my country into a real democracy, into a real, modern, democratic, and European state. We want to transform Georgia into a better place, because I think my nation just deserves this. And we simply, this is our choice. This is the choice of the independent nation. As for the vision, how we can reintegrate how we can persuade our brothers, Abkhazians and Ossetians, that this is the right way. This is the right choice. I think it should be done in the following way. We're moving in the right direction. We're making necessary reforms, economic reforms, bringing more and more investors. We're going to increase economy. We're going to improve the social conditions of our people. We're going to make better healthcare, better education for our generation. And I think after 3 or after 5 years, people in the occupied regions, they will understand the difference. They will understand the difference, how we live and how they live in the occupied regions. And they simply will want to live with us and share with us with all these benefits. Country's Euro integration means that Georgia will have a free visa regime with the European Union. Just a simple example. Georgia will have a free visa regime with the European Union. I'm confident very soon, maybe in a year or two, maximum. So just an example. So we will offer Abkhazians and Ossetians to travel with Georgian passport to Europe without a visa. This is one benefit. We will offer them better education, better healthcare, and better social conditions. And the most important thing is that we will offer them freedom. Freedom, that this is the most important thing that every nation needs in the world. So I think this is the vision, this is the only right approach, how we can attract our brothers, how we can persuade them. There's no better place for them to live rather than to live with us, with Georgians. Of course, there is no alternative to a peaceful dialogue, and we will never use force against them. Thank you.
Georgi Achmeteli, the McCain Institute Fellow, Organization Accessible Environment for Everyone. I'll be back in Georgia in August. I'm taking studies here. First of all, I want to thank you and congratulate you with ratification of UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. We were advocating for it for several years, and at least it's achieved. I want to underline the importance of its implementation, as government took the obligation and responsibility to ensure the equal opportunities for persons with disabilities to access healthcare, public transportation, education, employment. There are a lot of things to do. What are your concrete steps in the nearest future for its implementation? Because I want to say that this is a revolutionary document for developing countries like our country, and it's the post-Soviet approach was like to focus on disability. The convention offers us new approach to focus on ability. So what is your administration's plans in near future? Thank you.
Thank you, Georgi. Thank you for this question. As you mentioned, we ratified the convention last December, and my government has also adopted an action plan, a 5-year action plan, which means that we have to, each government organization and each government institution will have to comply with these regulations, and we'll have to, for example, install the ramps and other necessary, I think, well, how to say, the steps that we have to make. So I think what we can do, we can share with you this action plan, so that this will give you a very detailed answer and information about our program. Thank you.
Hi, Vachtan Gomelauri, Social Democrats of Georgia. My question was in regards to many statements that Georgian Dream has made when it said that it's center-left and that it is social democratic even. So my question is, what are specific economic, labor, and employment policies that this translates into, and are you going to be using any of the American expertise in this process? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I'm glad to see that so many Georgian students arrived to join us. And Vachtan Gomelauri was my deputy when I was the Minister of Interior. So I was glad to find out there's another Vachtan Gomelauri here in the States. Well, first of all, I'd like to say that our government, the new administration, is, first of all, people-oriented government. And I think we've proved it many times. We introduced entirely new approach towards human being. And we declared and we proved that for us, for our government, the most important value is a human being. We entirely changed the government's policy towards healthcare. You know that we increased the budget for about 1 billion lari for the Ministry of Healthcare and Social Affairs. and we continue. We're making a lot of reforms, a lot of changes in this regard. As for economy, you know that our government's top priority is the agriculture, because we believe that there's a huge potential, and this is one of the top priorities for our economic goals, to reach our economic goals. I can tell you that last year we made a number of successful projects, such as the assistance of about 700,000 citizens. We helped them to work to cultivate their lands, and we spent over 200 million lari in that project. And we're going to sponsor the same project this spring, and we're going to spend about 100 million lari this year. And we have other, other programs and other projects. And to tell you, I think this is the only right approach, because people live in poverty in Georgia. They live in a very difficult situation, especially in the regions. In towns, in big cities, they have more jobs and etc. But in the regions, they're especially in a very difficult situation. So we're doing our necessary, our best in order to help them, in order to create more jobs. And this is this is my biggest challenge, honestly. The economy is my biggest challenge. Create more jobs, unemployment. This is the biggest challenge. And we are making, we've already elaborated a long-term strategy. It's called 2020, how the country should be developed in the years ahead. And just recently we drafted a national program, an action plan, how to develop the local production. And this program is called Produce Georgian, because our problem is that the goods are mostly imported from outside. 85% of all goods are imported from outside, and we don't produce them. So we're going to we're going to help startups. We're going to help small and medium-sized business companies this year. So in order to help facilitate the lives of people, especially in the regions. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Amy Bergtold, and I'm an alumni of Columbia, but from the medical campus. And I've had the good fortune to visit your beautiful country a couple times. And my question is, you refer to all the progress Georgia has made over the last 10 years, and most, if not all of that progress is due to the former government of Saakashvili. Yet it seems as if your government does not recognize his party as a legitimate opposition party, and many of its members are actually imprisoned at the moment. Many high-profile members. I was just wondering if you could comment on your attitude towards the opposition party.
Well, thank you. Well, first of all, I would like to tell you, well, I didn't want to speak about the past, because I think that's our past history. And since we're forward-looking government, and I didn't want to waste my time thinking about them, people already made a choice, and they voted for us. They voted for Georgian Dream because they believed this was the only solution to save the democracy in our country. I underline, to save the democracy in our country, because that was not the democracy, especially in the recent, if you look at last year, I mean, what happened in 2011, 2009, 10, 2008, and 7, how they were brutally dispersing the manifestations, peaceful manifestations. And by the way, I can tell you that 5 people died in 2011 when they brutally dispersed the peaceful manifestation in Tbilisi on May 26. And over 100 demonstrators were jailed, put in jail, and tortured, and I don't want to speak about this again, but since you asked, I'm obliged to answer to your question. And you asked about the former government officials. Some of them were prosecuted, and my government had a legitimate reason to do so. And the most important thing is that transparency only, due process and rule of law guide us in all these cases. If you could name a case where these three elements are not guaranteed, then I will apologize. But I can guarantee you that all these cases are extremely transparent. We invite international monitors, experts to come and to attend these trials and see how these trials are being held. So that's my, and of course that's the judiciary, that's the independent court's decision, and it's not us to decide who to be jailed or not. And most importantly, I'd like to repeat what I've already said many times. I think we should not set the sense of impunity. I said several times, and I'm happy to repeat for you. Today I'm the Prime Minister of Georgia. And after 5 years or after 10 years, when I resign, when I leave my office, and if the new government finds out that I've committed a crime, my question is, should the new government prosecute me or not? Of course they should. Why? Because I'm not privileged. I was elected to serve my country and to serve my people, not to serve my own needs and to serve my own family. This is my answer, and it's very simple. Transparency, rule of law, and due process. Everything else is being taken care of by the independent court. Thank you.
Yes, hello. Thank you so much, Mr. Prime Minister, for taking my question. I am Victoria Kupchinetsky. I'm a correspondent for Voice of America, Russian service. I actually have two questions, if I may. Do you expect that the situation in Crimea might escalate to the crisis that was experienced in Abkhazia and South Ossetia in 2008? And if you think that this escalation is possible, what should all the parties, including the European government, the Russians, the West, and the Americans, what should all the parties do to try to avoid this crisis? And my second question is, what is your position or the opinion on the allegations that the former president of Georgia, Mikhail Saakashvili, was involved in killing of the former prime minister of Georgia, Zurab Zhvania?
Well, thank you. We've been watching closely, and we are very concerned about the recent developments in Ukraine. Ukraine is a very important country for Georgia. Ukraine is a partner country to Georgia, and we have a long tradition, and it's very emotional for us. And of course, we condemn any violation, any violence, and I think, and I very much hope that Ukrainian people and the Ukrainian government will return to their European choice, European way. As for your question regarding Crimea, we've seen some alarming signs of provocations, but we have to watch closer. And I think the only solution to this is the consolidated international community and its support to Ukraine. And we have to wait and see. I think the international community is actively involved, and the world is watching closely how things will develop in Ukraine. But the reality is that things are changing very quickly, so that we can't even follow. As for your second question, I don't want to comment on this because I can't say anything about this. The investigation is still open about the death of former Prime Minister and former Chairman of Parliament, Zurab Jouania. And we'll see. The investigation will show us what was the reason of his death. And I don't want to speculate on this. It's a very sensitive issue. Thank you.
First off, thank you, Mr. Prime Minister, for coming and speaking with us today about the socio-economic trajectory of Georgia, and to the Harriman Institute for hosting this event. My name is Eric Beckman. I am a graduate of the economics program here at Columbia University, and currently working for a company called Millennium Capital that is it's headed by the former founding CEO of Millennium Challenge, Lasha Shanidze. My question is this: given the lingering effects of the previous administration, the previous regime's activities regarding businessmen, and having many of them leave the country, I was very surprised to learn that my boss and mentor is not even able to visit the country that we are arranging deals for. I'm curious as to what your administration is able to do and what you are in the process of doing to help resolve the ambiguous legal status of these businessmen and women. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I think this is one of the most difficult issue and another big challenge for our government. I think we should study each case individually. The case of Mr. Lasha, I mentioned, I will instruct the relevant people to study his case, and we'll get you an answer. But that's what we inherited. Over 9,000 businesses, properties, houses were seized by the previous government. 9,000. It's not 9, it's not 90. It's 9,000. And the previous regime prosecuted 300,000 people. 300,000 Georgian citizens. It's a huge number. Georgians are only 4.5 million. Therefore, we have to study each case. It takes a long time. We've been in the government since October 2012, and we've already studied and solved hundreds of cases, of this type of cases. And I think we will, well, the prosecutor's office is studying these cases, and they have a plan how to find a solution. And for your question, they will study this case, and we'll give you an answer. I understand he's not able to travel to Georgia because he's what? I mean, he's still.
Well, it's a political exile situation.
Right. Okay. We will look into this, and we'll get back to you if you could leave us your contact details.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Angela Wheeler, and I'm a graduate student in Columbia's Department of Urban Planning. I was a Fulbright student based out of Tbilisi last year, and I was unfortunate to witness a rather violent riot that was motivated by homophobia and anti-Western sentiment, which perhaps indicated that not everyone in Georgia is really behind turning towards Western ideals, at least socially, and especially the Orthodox Church, to which about 80% of the Georgian population subscribes. You mentioned that your administration has adopted a human rights strategy to address minority rights in Georgia. Will this address LGBTQ rights?
Well, thank you. It's a good question. Well, first of all, besides the human rights strategy, we're also going to adopt the anti-discrimination law. It's already drafted, and it will be sent to the parliament for adoption. Therefore, I think this issue will be solved very soon. And I'll tell you something. This issue that you just mentioned, it happens. It may happen in every country, and we understand. And I think it needs to be. It needs to. We need to work on this. And nobody's perfect in this world. No country is perfect, and we need some more improvements in this sector. We've done a great job, I would say, because we elaborated the unique human rights strategy, And we drafted the anti-discrimination law, and this will be adopted very soon. The previous government didn't do this. I don't know why they didn't do it, but we're doing this. I also want to tell you that every year, if you look at the, for example, in 2011, 2010, 2009, all these type of demonstrations of LGBT, there were, how to say, forced, they were beaten by others, and the police couldn't protect them. This was the only case, single case, where nobody was injured or nobody was attacked. And I personally was involved in protecting these people. So, well, we understand it is a problem. It is a problem maybe in every country, but we're working on it. We're working to improve the human rights situation. And lastly, I wanted to tell you that Georgia has been a very tolerant country for many centuries. Of course, it needs to be improved, but we are very experienced in tolerance in general. Thank you.
Thank you.